Hello, welcome to DSC96. I'm excited to do this thing. Obviously, still really different. We're going to do this remotely and asynchronously. Today's actually September 15th for me. Yeah, let's hop right in. So, my name is Colin Jamat. I prefer that you just call me Colin, and my pronouns are he and him. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and then a little bit about the class today, and that should be it. So for me, data science really is about deeply understanding the meaning of your data, analyzing it with honesty and with creativity, and then communicating those results clearly. That sounds like a lot, but really it's science in the service of human decision making. That's really the core of what data science is. In general, if you need to get a hold of me, email is the best bet. It's cjamat@ucsd.edu. There's 2 M's and 2 T's in there. And I like hearing from you. Often questions you ask might be answered on the course webpage, so do check there first. A little bit of background for me. So I came into data science. I've been doing it a while, and for everybody who's doing it a while, they didn't actually get a degree in data science because that wasn't really a thing, right? So my undergraduate degree from Harvey Mudd was a bachelor's in engineering, and then I went on to Penn State and I did a master's degree in electrical engineering and a PhD in acoustics. So my work was really on sonar signal processing, underwater sound. I kept doing that for a couple of years, and then in 2013, I had a sudden career change where I had some grants, and I was doing basic research, and the grants were canceled. The federal government just said we're not doing that kind of research anymore, and so I was like, I got to figure out what to do. So I took some time. I taught myself Python because I'd read an article that said data science was going to be this hot new career, and I talked my way into a startup, and here we are. So that startup did not work out. We were really good at building stuff and really bad at selling stuff. But I now work at a company called Seismic, and I'm going to be pretty different than all your other instructors in that I have a full-time day job. So I work as a senior data scientist at Seismic, where I make recommendation systems. So think of when you go on Spotify's recommendations of music or like Amazon or Netflix. I do the same kind of thing, but for salespeople, helping them find out what kind of content they should be sending to potential buyers. I'm happy to talk about my work, but I tend to draw examples from other places mostly, just because I think it's good for you to get a lot of exposure to different stuff. So just ask if you have questions about what I do. Cool. So that's really it for me. I want to go over the course website some today, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. And the reason is, I think especially when we're all remote and distant from each other, this is a good way to sort of make sure we all have the same expectations about the class. So please either watch the rest of this video or read the site really carefully. And if you have any questions or concerns about it, let's talk them through now so that we're all on the same page and we can have a really good class. So the first thing I'll note is this is a 2-unit optional pass, no pass class with no prerequisites. So it's meant to be taken really at the same time as Data Science 10, but if you take it a little bit later, that's okay too. The thing that I'd say is if you take it way later, it's pretty basic, pretty intro level, and so it might be boring to you. It's also a much more applied class. So this class is really about using data to answer questions and really just hopping right in and doing it. So our first day, we're gonna actually make plots and answer questions. This is really different than a lot of the other classes in the beginning, which are really about fundamentals and theory and all the rest, which are also very important. There's 3 main things I want to get through in this class. The first one is the hardest part of data science. and it's figuring out how to answer questions that people have with data. So there's a lot of steps to that. One of them is identifying problems that are good for that, meaning the data exists and you can actually do the math and all the rest. There's also this reframing that happens where you sort of push back on the question and all the rest. Anyway, we'll get into that a lot. I think it's the most important part of data science and one of the least talked about ones. We'll also talk a lot about limitations of data and then how to manipulate the data to answer questions. So we'll get a little bit into all of that. First, before we talk more about how the class is structured, I want to obviously mention we're doing this remotely, right? And we're doing this remotely because there's a pandemic. But also, it's just been a really big year, right? There's a lot of social unrest. We're coming up on a major election that will happen during this quarter. And I know that personally, I'm not doing my best work right now because I'm distracted and worried and all the rest. So the thing I want to say is I want you to succeed in this class. And please let me know how I can do that, right? So anything I can do to make that better, reach out. That said, your first priority is not doing well in this class. Your top priority should be making sure that you remain safe and healthy, as safe and healthy as you can be. Your second priority should be making sure your family and your friends and your community are as safe and healthy as they can be. And then once all that's done, let's learn some data science together. But I don't want the data science to come at the cost of health or safety. Okay, so what does distance learning look like for this one? So this class will be, it'll be possible to do it totally asynchronously, but I really recommend trying to come to class if you can. I'm trying a bunch of new stuff this time to try to accommodate a variety of things. So we're going to be using a flipped classroom model, and what that means is you're going to watch lectures or do some reading before class, and then the part you think of as homework, we're actually going to do in class together. So what does that mean? It means before class, you're actually going to have some work to do every time, and typically that will be either watching a lecture or doing some reading or possibly both. When you are going through... So we do have a textbook for the class. It's like $15. It's called Confident Data Skills by Kirill Eremenko. And it's a pretty broadly accessible popularization thing. The first 5 chapters are really good. They talk about what data science is and what it looks like to actually do data science better than any other book I've seen. The rest of the book is pretty terrible. It covers data science techniques in a kind of hand-wavy way that I really don't like. So I recommend not finishing the book. I won't be assigning anything after the middle. The good news is all that material is actually covered really well in your other classes, right? So you'll get a lot of detail on all that stuff that's in there. There'll be other readings too, and I'll have you watch some YouTube videos from other folks and whatever. So all that's on the class website on the schedule. Okay, so before class, you got to do some reading and some watching. And when you're doing that reading and watching, I want you to be prepared to come to discussion. So maybe have a notebook and jot down some ideas for things you'd want to talk about. Maybe how the topic relates to something personal for you, your life, or the news, or to some questions you have about the stuff. And we'll talk about that in class. So during class, if you are attending class live, we're going to be doing discussions and we're going to be doing some exercises together. I'd like it if you can join with a microphone and a camera, but I get that that's not workable for everyone. And I also strongly recommend trying to be on a keyboard, a computer with a keyboard, just because it makes typing much easier. So like joining from a tablet or a phone is not ideal because we're going to be actually doing stuff, right? And then I want to note the classes aren't going to be recorded. So the reason I'm not recording them is I want people to be comfortable speaking really openly. And I know that I'm much more guarded when I know the stuff's being recorded. So we're just not going to do that. But the good news is all the lectures and stuff are pre-recorded. So if you can't make it to class, totally fine. You don't need special permission or anything else. And I get that some of you may be able to come to no classes live, right? That's okay. When you miss a class, you have to do two things to make it up, the discussion and the exercise. For the discussion, what you want to do is write me an email. Short's fine. 3-5 sentences, like a professional kind of thing you'd have with a colleague, or even an email to a friend, and do some discussion on the reading. I will actually read those and get back to you. So don't go attaching a document or putting a big formal thing in or whatever. Just write a little note, and let's try to have a conversation. Making up the in-class exercise is harder. So the exercises are designed to be really long, and then we don't finish them. And the reason that they're extra long is so that if somebody wants to go and like do extra stuff, learn more about the topic, the material's right there. But in class, we don't get very far in like almost any of them. So what I want you to do for makeup is just to maybe spend an hour or so at it, right? Don't spend tons and tons of time. Also recognize it's going to be more difficult, so I strongly recommend, if you can, either getting a buddy or asking a bunch of questions, right? So we're going to do an experiment with a Slack channel for the class, so you can ask questions there, and maybe other students are going to answer it, or I'll hop in. But it's better to ask a question instead of being stuck for a long time. So don't feel the need to finish all the assignments, right? For this class, I am totally cool with you collaborating however, right? So you can show people your code, you can ask questions, you can do whatever. That's all totally fine. But if you turn something in, it needs to be either something you did, or it needs to be very clear that you collaborated on it, or whatever. So that attribution is important. All right, grading. Yeah, I'm going to be real with you. It's a pass, no pass class that's optional. If you do a good, like really make a serious effort at the class, if you do the class, you will pass the class, right? I only calculate the grades if someone has a chance of failing. And to fail, like I said, you have to really phone it in. You have to really like not do the class. So that said, if you're not going to do the class, like there's actually a really large wait list on this class, so like please leave. I'd rather have someone that wants to be in the class, but I get it. So there's a grading rubric on the website and stuff, but like I'm not actually going to do it as long as you're really participating. A note about academic integrity. This is a thing I take extremely seriously, and maybe for a little bit different reason than other people talk about, but I really don't like getting lied to. It makes me really sad, and it makes me really angry. In general, I'm a really chill guy, but when you misrepresent the authorship of your work by plagiarizing or having somebody contract cheating or whatever, I kind of lose it, right? I get really angry, and so please don't do that, right? It also cheats you out of the opportunity of learning, and it's bad for the school and all sorts of other things. But like just totally selfishly, like when you cheat, it really ruins my day. Cool. One last note about diversity and inclusion. So it is very important to me that everyone can fully participate in this class as much as we can do. And so that means a couple of things. One, if you've got a letter from the Office of Students with Disabilities or whatever, please get that to me and I'll make some accommodations. That said, if there's any reason that you are not able to fully participate in here and to feel safe and respected, please let me know. So a silly example, a small example, is I'm trying to get out of the habit of saying you guys, and to do a more inclusive you all. And so when I mess up, I appreciate someone saying something. And in general, I really think that focusing on the inherent worth and dignity of all the people in the class is really the key to having an inclusive learning environment. You also have a responsibility here, and your responsibility is that you also have to help maintain an environment where your students feel safe and respected. So if anything's not going like that, just email me or let me know, and we will figure out a way to resolve that. So, all right. So I'm excited to see you all who can make it in class on Monday. There's a bunch of details on the schedule. I'll get you all out of the Slack. Let's do this thing. I'm excited.